took my wife for granted.
Husband, there's 11 years difference.
First night.
Hold on, baby, I don't dance. But how I
As a Christian marriage, you will still face challenges like
I'm not scared to take a chance.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dami as always, and if you're seeing my face for the very first time, welcome to my channel, and make sure you do subscribe before you leave today. By the title of this video, you already have an idea of what we're going to be talking about today. So just for the record as well, this video is the first of many more to come, because if you see my banner, you'll see I did a little upgrade in this month of April, because I'm doing a countdown to my 10 years wedding anniversary, and I'm just launching that aspect of my YouTube channel that is going to be talking about relationship. And relationship in this regard is not just streamlined to marriage. So it talks about friendship, even work relationship, everything you can think of under relationship. But yeah, with that said, let's get into today's video. In today's video, I have a very special guest. And how interesting is it that I have my dad around? So if you've not seen him before, I'm sure you've seen him in most of my vlogs since they arrived. But yeah, he's my papa. We are going to be talking. Or do you want to introduce yourself?
You have done the introduction already.
Are you sure? Anyway, this is my dad. You can tell like the resemblance. You can't miss it. Anyway, here's my dad. And in today's video, we're going to be comparing marriage in... So I was just checking. Let me go back and confirm. Millennials. So I'm a millennial and my dad is, let's see, baby boomers. So we're going to be comparing what marriage is like for baby boomers versus millennials. And even Gen Z, because some of these Gen Z, some of the traits in millennials are in Gen Z. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. I have a few questions I gathered together, which we'll talk through, and we'll take it from there. Daddy, are you ready?
Yes.
You're ready. And my daddy made notes because I gave him these questions in the past. So if you see him looking down, best believe he's looking at his notes. But I'm sure you will learn one or two things, because marriage requires a lot of effort. So it's an honor to have you here, Dad, to learn from you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let me go to the questions I sent to him. Just also for background, my marriage is going to be 10 years in August this year, and my dad has been married well over 30 years, like best believe. So it's 10 years versus 30 years plus. Let's see what marriage looks like. Anyways, enough talking. When you first got married, all right, how was your first year in marriage? So he will share his experience, and then I will share my experience, and then we can compare and bounce ideas off each other. So how was your first year of marriage?
Well, to the glory of God, and thank you, our viewers. Is quite interesting. The first year was very sweet.
Sweet?
Very sweet. Very sweet. The joy of getting married, especially as young Christians, marrying in the church, and getting my heart, what do I call it? So it was very fulfilling.
How was it navigating? Because, okay, you said your own side of it. For me, I feel like it was a bit challenging for us, because coming from a different background, and I didn't marry someone actually in my generation. Maybe that's another reason. So I think between my dad, let me give you guys a bit of background. Between my dad and my mom, there's about 3 or 4 years age difference. But between myself and my husband, there's 11 years difference. So there was a bit of like catching up to the way he does things and the way I do things. And we are from like quite different background. Our upbringing is totally different. There was no similarities. So there was a lot of trying to adjust and playing catch up. And I think one thing that helped us again was the fact that my husband is very matured. So he helped us pull through. Like, we know God by the grace of God. And then he's a very matured man. So like there are just some things he would ignore. But I know that a lot of people struggle in that first year. And even in recent times, when you go on social media, you would see a lot of marriages that don't even like pass the first year, because they are just like, when they get into it, this person is not who I thought I was getting married to. So there's a lot of people around that says, oh, the first year is hard. It was a bit hard, but I didn't think it was so hard to be like, looking back now, it wasn't as hard for me.
Yeah, what makes the difference in our own and what made it very, very sweet, like I said. Number one, thank God for our conversion. Because that was the basic thing. Like when I was growing up, my idea about marriage was different. So, but when I came into the Christian faith, when I was converted, luckily I was I joined Deeper Life Bible Church. And
FYI, guys, my dad is a pastor, and he already said his church, so you know.
It was there I knew about marriage, and my orientation changed from the Word of God. And then again, with the aspect of being pure, you know, no premarital sex or something like that.
Is that why?
Yeah, the reason is this. By the time you do the will of God, and you get into it, it makes you to be so happy and joyful that you are obeying God. So that makes our first from the first night of our coming together, it was blissful.
Oh gosh.
Yes. So, and that's how we went into so by the grace of God, in that first years we didn't experience
any challenge.
All
right. Yeah. So for me, I would say it was smooth, but got so Australia. That's what I would say. But then again, what I would say is like one take home from me is what I signed, and when I was going into marriage, I signed till death do us part. So like I'm in this marriage to make it work. Of course, there are instances where you cannot make it work, but outside of those other things like domestic violence and things like that, I'm here to make it work. If I can fight with my siblings and like reconcile and move on, that's always my own mantra. So if this man that we don't even have the same background, if I have issues with him, we would reconcile, we'll sort things out, and we will move on. And for me, I don't believe, like when people say the first year was hard, it was not as hard as when we started having kids. I felt like majority of our fights and issues started when we started having kids. That was when the reality of marriage, responsibilities dawned on me. In the first year, I was trying to get pregnant and have a baby. So we were working together to ensure we get to that point. So there was no issue of fight. It was just us. We had each other. So there was nothing causing fights. Like, I don't know, Sha, maybe the expectations, people already set, because, you know, I married in the church as well, but my story is for another day. But you know people who date, like they've been dating, maybe you started going to the man's house, you started cooking for him, or you've set expectations, and then you guys get into the marriage, and you are not, and like the expectation is under pretense. And then you get into the marriage, and then the man is expecting, or you are expecting, whatever you guys have both done in the past. And then you realize that this is not what I saw in this person. But in an instance for us that we seek God, like we get the confirmation from God, we seek God's face, and then like the promise, whatever promise or conviction you got before you married this person, it keeps you going to say, God, I confirmed from you before I embarked on this journey, you would see me through. So I feel like that's different. Like that's just the major difference I see. Like whenever there's an issue, I just go back to God, even in waiting to say, hey God, like you told me this is going to work, this is it. So I'd always go back to God to say, God, you promised me this is the man for me. Like always go back to God's promises concerning our lives, and then that pulled us through. So I didn't see like that's just my own overall summary of first year of marriage. So all right, I think we've tackled that question because this video is going to be too long. Let's go to the next one. At what point in your marriage, you've gone through 3 decades actually, at what point in your marriage do you think was easier, and at what point do you think was hard? Like navigating family, marriage, like everything. At what point did things get easier? At what point did it get hard?
Well, like I said,
that be sincere as much as possible, because let me tell you something, everybody knows that marriage is not like there's God.
You
There's
don't-
God, eh?
You don't need
But-
to tell me that.
No. But marriage is not sweet, it's not rosy. Just say it as it is, so that people
Don't
can, because people will go and be setting expectations and just say
I
like,
will-
even as a Christian marriage, you will still face challenges like
I will tell you everything raw.
raw.
as
Exactly.
it
That's
is.
what we want to hear.
Just raw.
Okay.
As it is. Like I said, our first years was quite sweet, smooth,
Yeah.
and to the glory of God. Until when we started having our children growing up as teenagers. That's where our challenge really started. Especially when you have teenagers that want to be themselves.
Me, I'm not me, not me, because I don't want those teenagers. We have 4 children, so don't guess, don't think it's me. Anyway, go on. We are 4 in this that I gave birth to. Okay.
So the parenting, the challenge of parenting, and then parenting teenagers, teenage boys, especially, was really challenging.
Yeah.
That is one. Then the second aspect, because I've said I will be very raw. Personally, I thank God for whom I have as my wife. And like you said earlier, that whenever there is a challenge, you always go back to God. That, Lord, you told me this is my wife.
Yeah.
That thing is very important, and that's why I mentioned the issue of testimony. So if you have that testimony, at all times, in any situation, you can always go back to God. Say, Lord, and then whenever there is a kind of fear or doubt that did I make mistake, but when you remember how God has spoken to you, you can always hold God and say, Lord, just for his help and support.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is this, that there's truly that we married according to the will of God, does not mean
There were no challenges.
there will be no challenges. There are, and there are challenges. Number one, on my own aspect, on my own part, is that I took my wife for granted.
Oh. I don't know this one.
Yes, you will know.
No,
I took my wife for granted. Let me explain
Why?
it. In that, because it's nearly the time we got married, that she started her business. Then, I work in the bank.
Yeah.
So there are some things I felt that, okay, because my wife is making money, I also am making money, so that's where I said I took her for
Finances, like in finances, yeah,
yes.
not in any area.
I took her for granted. So, and by the time I thought all is well,
Yeah.
and she's so quiet, so she would not tell me. So it was later when I now knew. Is then I said.
And things have gone far and deep.
So those are the two aspects
That really.
especially the parenting that was really challenging something. But thank God in it all, the Lord sees us through. Thank God.
Yeah, just in saying what my daddy have said, and this is one thing I tell people, that you are who you associate with, right? So I saw the struggles going up. Like, none of this is new to me because, of course, I grew up in this house. So I think one of the things I told my husband when we're getting married is, like, in Yoruba, you say, "Enukon la ma fi to àwọn ọmọ yìí." So it's like, we are going to train these children with one voice. When I'm saying hey, you cannot say B. We are both going to say A. If any of them need something, we are both responsible. I don't mind to even be 50-50, but I will not do 100 and you will do 50, and then it will start causing rifts. I don't want to get to a point, perfect example is, we don't want to get to a point that my son would be like, oh, mommy, give me this, and I'm saying no, and he's like, and don't worry now, I can get it from daddy. So these are the things I saw growing up, you know, that I felt like I took into my marriage. And to be honest, in getting married, I was looking out for things I knew, like the little issues I've seen. So I'm very apprehensive of those things. Like once I start seeing the amber light, that these things, you know, like, you know, major she wants Yoruba, I don't know, but this cannot happen again. Like I've seen this happen, I've seen how this transpires. So I'm very conscious of things like that. And then with finances as well, like my daddy said, I saw all these things happen, and then those are the things that when we're going through our marriage committee, like it was things we put on the table and say, this is how we're going to manage our finances, this is like everything. But because I've learned from you, there are many parents who hide all these things from their kids. Like they don't make them exposed to it. And then by the time they get into marriage, they have big expectations, and then you're like, that's not how life is. Because you see all these millennials, Gen Zs, all these young people these days. Yeah, I'm still young, but yeah, I'm older than some people. If you look at the Gen Zs, you start seeing on social media, you'll be like, my husband has to take care of me, my money is my money, you know, that kind of thing. You'll be like, these people you are sitting in cloud 9. You are not facing reality. You see all these young girls, they'll be like, I cannot give a man my money, I cannot pay rent, so I cannot. But we, as a family, like, think what was working is like, whatever I have, you have. We will get to the next question of joint account or no joint account. But our finance, what we've done, because of my experience, is we are all responsible. Whoever has the capacity will bring all to the table, and will take what is what we are each responsible for. You marry a billionaire, for in that instance where your man will take care of everything and your money is your money. But not in this part of the world where we even currently live. Imagine I say, oh, my husband, oh, you are the one that will pay rent, you are the one that will pay mortgage, you are the one that will pay everything, and then I want to just use my money and be cruising and be going on vacation. The marriage would crash. It will crash. So I feel like people in this generation, one thing is just to take, like my own take home from this is, parents, when your children start becoming of age, right, expose them to the challenges you're facing. It builds them for the future ahead. Don't start saying, oh, I don't want my children to know my struggles. Because if they face that challenge in the future, the same thing will repeat itself. You will see many generations where in their family, not to make jest or fun, like you see a lot of people that have broken homes, and like it's a trend, in a family trend. And some of these things is because you don't expose your kids to things like this. Okay. So it comes to them as a shocker when they get into marriage and like, oh, my mom won't take this, I won't take it. Whereas your mom took it, that's what ended our marriage. Like, didn't take it, that's what ended our marriage. But if anyone, you already knew these things, you brace yourself up. Before these things happen in your own marriage, you already know what went wrong in your parents, and then you take precaution, right? So I think that's one thing to take home, like expose your children. And then in finances, I don't know, please, if you people know a man that used to carry all the responsibility, please come and tell me. I want to know. Because in this part of the world, it's not even just possible. Maybe in Nigeria, where things are not as expensive or responsibility.
No. You see, what makes marriage to thrive, especially Christian marriages, is one, the fear of God. The fear of God. If both of you really fear God, and you have the love of God in you, you love one another, and you know that this is what the Word of God says, and you want to abide by it, that is what will keep both of you together. Talk of parenting, talk of finances, talk of in-law relationships, whatever. It is that Word of God that will guide both of you. And even when we are in courtship, we have, as you said, because the marriage committee give us topics.
Same with us. Same thing.
So, and it is to help. Because that the purpose of the courtship is planning. It's a planning time to plan ahead. So we have agreed certain principles that we want to imbibe, that I want to
home.
hold on to. And those principles really helped us, even till today. So when you now bring that to the issue of finances, is what the Bible commands is openness. To be open to one another. I know what my wife is earning. My wife knows what I'm earning. Transparency. And another thing is that as Christians, when you don't know how to tell lie, I remember funny things that happened. So I said I took my wife for granted. So let me even shift this in. There was a day, I think I collected my salary. Then we've done our budget. She's the accountant. She does that very, very well.
I see.
And she was expecting that my own part to bring it.
Yeah.
But there was something happened. I can't remember. There was a need. Maybe it's in the church.
Let me tell you what I remember. I remember there was a time that we needed money for something. You've already said you would do it. But then there was a need in church, and then we now asked for the money. It's not me, maybe mommy. I was very young. You now say that maybe this was led in you. God led you to drop that money in church. Hell, Jesus, you people. I remember this one very well. You now said that money that we should use for this thing, you dropped it in church. God led you.
So that's why I said I took her for granted, because my own assumption is that
everything is in God.
Shebi is for God's purpose.
Yes.
Shebi is for God's.
Anyway, so that's
so those are the things. But actually, I know I was wrong, because according to the word of God, what is to God should be given to God. Then what it is for Caesar to Caesar. Even Jesus Christ tells us that these Pharisees that are saying that something I should give to my parents, I'm giving it to God, that it is wrong.
Oh, really?
Yes. So what you should give to your parents, you give it to your parents. Then what you give to your family, to your children, you give it to them. Then what is to God, you give to God. So those are the things. That's why I said the word of God is very, very important. When both of us know the word of God, and then you stand by it, that this is what the word of God says. If any of us make mistake and we bring ourselves in the light of the scriptures, I don't need to argue if I'm the one that is at fault. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not see it that way. And that ends it all. And if it is she too, that ends it all. So no need of argument, no need of holding on to your own something. That will not help the marriage.
Okay. Sure. Anyway, that's on that one. Next one, the next question. I hope you guys learned one or two from that one as well. And I think we'll wrap up with this question and do another part, because I'm actually running late. I need to head out. This one would be joint accounts, just because we've spoken about finances and everything. So to just wrap this up, what do you think of joint accounts, common purse? What's your take on it?
It's necessary, and that is the word of God.
To have joint account, that is?
Yes. When it says 1 plus 1 is equal to 1.
In marriage.
In marriage. And when it says 2 are better than 1. So there is need for unity, oneness, understanding in financial aspect, as well as other things too. Parenting, taking care of the house, all other things. So what does it mean? What does that joint account means? It's not necessarily that we should have an account opened. In fact, we had a joint account
at the early stage.
But both of us didn't have time for it. I can't even remember the account now. I think with UBA then. So, but what is important is that the sharing the expenses, the income, both expenses and income, sharing it together. Okay,
this is
my salary. This is your own income. Then this percentage, that percentage, we do it together. So that is what it means. But that's what joint account
Means to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Husband and wife.
Okay.
It is 1 plus 1 is equal to 1. And the scripture says 2 are better than 1. So resources are brought together from both sides. We will now agree. I said it's not necessarily that we must open a joint account. If the circumstances and situation allows it, it's okay. Unlike our own, it didn't work then. Because I was working, she also was
has a business.
It was even later in life now that we now have a very operative joint account now. So
but is it to manage expenses, or why do you have it?
But it's for a business.
Project,
It's for a project.
Anyway, on that topic, for me, in my first year of marriage, I tried joint account, and it ended that same year because that could have scattered the marriage, to be very honest. See, my husband, and that's why I said about background, my husband is someone who loves to save money, does not spend money. Like, he has allergy of spending money. And me, hey, as you people know, I love to shop. But this one, the one that even scattered the whole thing, was not shopping. So I was doing ACCA at the time. My husband, I now told him that I wanted to pay my ACCA lesson fee. My husband had said, and why will you pay at once? That where do you see people pay money when they ask them for money? I'm like, Egbami. When I was going to school, my parents would pay as much as possible, like as God provides for them. They pay my school fees once. Why will I just choose to start paying installment time? It's not like we don't have the resources. We do have it. But he just has a different mindset. Like, that's just upbringing. So his mindset is pay small. I'm like, the money is just sitting in the account. It's not accumulating any interest. It's just accumulating dust in the bank. But this man now told me, no, that's not how. But I was very gentle that day. I went to the class. I now went to Synergy. I will not forget. I went to Synergy at Ipori. I went for my class. And then when we got into the class, do you know what? I'm sure mommy knows this story, but you may not know. They now told me that I should, like, if you have not paid, go to the back. If you have paid, sit in front. Ha! Me! A whole me. Hey! I cried. You would think that they told me somebody died. Even the way I was crying, my husband was shocked. He was scared that, Oroyi abi me. That was the end of joint account. I had my mommy, somebody will now be telling me how to spend it and be giving me embarrassment. So for me, it did not work, and that's what I always tell people. But in saying that, just like my dad said, we share responsibilities. I know what belongs to me, what I'm meant to take care of. He knows what, and it has never been an issue
and
of.
There is transparency.
And there's transparency. He knows what. Even I was still telling someone this week that I'm trying to do something, and they're asking me for my gross income. I don't know it. But my husband, if I ask him, he knows. Like, anytime I need to fill any form, I just ask him, what's my annual gross income? He knows. Me, I just know what comes into my account every month because it must not change. But you know those gross before tax and everything, my husband knows, and that's transparency. You know what I mean? So I know what is my responsibility in this house, and we've never had a friction about who should pay this, who should not pay this. In splitting, sometimes we come and argue like, no, this is too much. I'm a woman, you want to kill me, like that kind of joke. But once we've agreed that this is what you're taking care of, this is what I'm taking care of, I hold up to it, and I do my part. So, and that has worked for us. And there are certain people who joint account works for. We are not saying, like, this is our own personal experience, right? Some people, this joint account thing works for them, because I know some families who have this joint account, and then every month
depending on the situation and
circumstances, yeah. So, and every month they both put their money into it, and they have one card that they use to set
like I said,
all expenses.
For our own,
yeah,
it was not working then.
Yeah.
But now that we even have a project, it's working.
Oh, okay.
Because we cooperate it. So. And
it has never worked, and I'm not even going back to
our joint account, even the business account, is either to sign. So either to sign means any of us can any party. So and it makes everything to go
smoothly. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give the video a thumbs up. Hopefully I'll put this video up before my dad leaves, and if you guys want another video, we'll film it together. But yeah, how do you feel about the video? What do you think?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye. I will see you in my next video. Bye.